The council chamber looked like a cathedral of glass under a white sun. Light fell in clean beams, turning dust into slow glitter. Delegates spoke in careful voices, their words soft, their decisions heavy. They called it a protective expedition. They called it measured force. They called it a vote. They did not call it what it was. An invasion of a blue world that did not yet bow. Ambassador, Caliev the Virile stood tall on his thin legs and said, "Humanity must be pacified before they destabilize our borders." He spoke of pirate incidents near Procyon, about black box recordings of human engines starting from dead space, about a rumor that humans could turn debris into a weapon with math and anger. The chamber listened. They weighed. They nodded. On the terrace above, Junior Scribe Millen watched in silence. She had read thousands of pages of human transmissions. Music that sounded like storms, poems that sounded like homesickness, and speeches made in the open air. None of it matched the report on her datapad that called humans high-risk resource competitors. She felt a knot in her chest and could not name it. The vote came with chimes. The result glowed in the air like a sunrise. Approved. On Earth, the morning was ordinary. Fishermen pulled nets under a pale sky. A girl in Lahore ran to catch a school bus, laughing as the door shut. A mechanic in Lagos wiped grease from his hands and told his friend he would be late for dinner. No alarms, no panics. Only normal life, which is harder to defeat than any fleet. The invasion force assembled beyond Pluto's quiet orbit. The ships were elegant, silver fins, mirrored hulls that broke sunlight into rainbows. Admirals took their seats like statues. They spoke of timetables, Day 1 demand, Day 2 blockade, Day 3 compliance. They did not have a Day 4. The first transmission to Earth arrived at noon over the Indian Ocean. It was polite. It asked humanity to power down orbital assets and stand by for harmonization. The message spread, rippled, and struck nerves. Some people were afraid. Some were angry. Most kept working because bills do not stop for aliens. At sunset in Karachi, a boy watched contrails paint the sky while his mother closed the shop. In the reflection of the rolling shutter, a tiny star moved against the blue. He thought it was a plane at first. He told his mother. She smiled, tired, and said, "Make a wish." Far above, on the Virile flagship, envoys rehearsed the words they would use to explain that this was all for humanity's good. On the Council's live channel, commentators debated what a manageable Earth would look like. Millen stared at the screen until the color of the sky began to change. That night, something woke in the dark between orbits. It did not switch on with a roar. It unfolded with a whisper, like paper opening. A small human craft detached from shadow, shaped like it had been carved from night. Its heat signature was almost nothing. Its drive curve was wrong. Admiral Threx noticed the blip and frowned. "Identify," he said. No one could. The human craft sent a message with no preface, no anthem, no apologies. 5 words, clear as a bell. "Stand down. You are misinformed." The Admiral smiled without humor. "Proceed," he said. "Send the drones." On a hillside outside Peshawar, a radio hobbyist tuned past static and caught those 5 words by chance, bounced through the ionosphere in a messy miracle. He recorded them and sent them to a friend in Ankara, who sent them to a cousin in Manila, who posted them with the caption, "We are not alone, and we are not afraid." The Council fleet closed in. Bright and correct, the human ship disappeared. It reappeared inside the drone swarm. The stars went quiet. Cliffhanger. The flagship's shield registered no impact. No heat, no beam, yet the entire first wave of drones simply stopped, as if commanded by gravity that did not belong to this system. They called it a jolt, but it was softer than that. Thousands of machines paused in the same breath like birds hearing a distant thunder. Diagnostics screamed, then fell mute. Admiral Threx demanded a status report and received 3 answers at once. Systems nominal, unknown interference, and recommend retreat. He chose the only one he could live with. Advance on Earth control rooms lit up. Nations that had not agreed about anything in a long time began to agree with the speed of a heartbeat. Channels opened that had been sealed for decades. A map bloomed on shared screens, the fleet, the vectors, the risk zones. The longest line was not red for danger, but gold for hope. Drawn from Earth to a spot beyond Pluto where someone human was talking back. The small ship spoke again, voice steady, almost gentle. "You do not understand us," it said. "You have misread our art as threat and our silence as weakness. You will not hurt our home." Kayleigh watched from the observation theater and felt the late warmth of the white sun on his skin. He thought of a human song he had heard once, recorded in a kitchen with the clatter of cups in the background. It had sounded like love. He tasted ash in his mouth. The flagship fired a warning lance past the human ship. Light flared like a second dawn. Nothing struck. The human craft slipped sideways through space without moving, an impossible glide, as if changing lanes in a road the Council could not see. "New physics," the science officer whispered. "Or old faith." Down on Earth, the girl who had run for her bus watched a live stream with her brother. Comments scrolled faster than rain. Some said pray, some said fight, some said share the link. She squeezed his hand and didn't notice when the power of fear in the room unknotted a little. Then the human ship did something no playbook covered. It folded its comm link into a wide broadcast and let the whole planet listen. "No secrets. No control. Just a voice. We are a scout," it said. "We are one ship because one is enough to carry a message. We are not here to start a war. We are here to stop one." Admiral Threx ordered a capture net. It was a glittering cage of fields and geometry, the kind of thing that could wrap a moon and tuck it into a pocket. The cage descended like a curtain. The human craft brightened at the edges and then didn't so much vanish as refuse to be where the cage was. The net closed on emptiness and drew itself tight, confused. "How?" the navigator asked. No one answered. "Try etiquette," Millen said under her breath, surprising herself. Around her, senior aides looked annoyed, then uncertain. A second council wing flanked wide to box the ship. The human craft rotated not in panic but in consideration, as if deciding how much math to use. It spoke a third time directly to the council's public channel. "You voted to invade our home," the voice said. "We vote no. It wasn't a threat. It was a boundary." Something changed in the chamber. Words like pacification tasted different. The white sun felt too bright. The flagship launched its final option, a precision strike at a debris field 50,000 kilometers off Earth's line, far from any station or ship. A display of force, a non-lethal reminder of scale. The debris melted in a bead of white and was gone. Silence. Then the human craft painted a line through vacuum no one could see until it was there. A thin aurora, curved like a promise, connecting every council ship in the fleet with a gossamer thread. Every engine throttled down to idle, uncommanded. On Earth, cheers rose in kitchens and on rooftops. In the council chamber, someone finally whispered the truth out loud. "We have underestimated them." Cliffhanger. A second human signal appeared from the dark, not a ship, but Earth itself, speaking with a million voices at once. "We are awake." The new signal came as a chorus, radio and fiber and laser and old copper lines that still hummed in rural hillsides. It carried a simple statement in many languages, stitched tight enough to be one voice. "We do not seek war. We will not be conquered. We will protect our home and yours if you let us." On the flagship, Admiral Threx felt something he hadn't felt since he was young, doubt with a sharp edge of wonder. "Translate the modulation," he said. His team tried. The pattern rearranged itself between tries. Always clear, always ahead. Back on Earth, engineers with red eyes and coffee cups pushed open a door they had built in secret for years. A planetary coordination lattice that wasn't a weapon, wasn't a shield, wasn't an AI overlord. It was a handshake across everything human had ever wired together. They called it the chorus. It sounded like cities at dawn. Millen read the fresh briefs and felt that unnamed knot loosen more. She opened a private channel to Kayleigh. "Have you listened to their music?" she asked. "Not the anthems. The small songs." "I have," Kayleigh said. "I voted yes anyway. Will you change your vote? If we survive this day." The human scout spoke again, closer somehow, like a friend at the gate. "Admiral Threx, you do not need to withdraw in shame. You can simply decide to stop. That is courage, too." The Admiral closed his eyes. He had stood in parades. He had watched worlds sign treaties with hands that shook. He knew the weight of retreat. He also knew the weight of guilt. Before he could answer, a hard alarm cut through the bridge. A needle of energy shot from a hidden escort in the Council's rear rank. a ship assigned to ensure mission purity. It streaked toward the human craft, narrow and arrogant. The human ship didn't dodge. It opened. The needle entered a darkness that folded like silk and did not come out. The human craft closed, graceful as a breath. Interception manifold, the science officer said, awe eating his fear. They are changing the path of cause, not the path of light. Across Earth, more voices joined the chorus. Farmers with old radios, children with plastic walkie-talkies, pilots, truckers, sailors, a choir in a church, a muezzin at dawn. The weave tightened. The day seemed to tilt toward something good. The admiral opened the general channel. "Human vessel," he said, the words heavy and slow. "What do you want from us?" "Truth," the voice said. "And lunch?" He almost laughed. "Explain. Stand down. Come closer. See our oceans in daylight. Walk through Karachi at evening rush when the light is gold on the buses. Hear our marketplaces. Smell our bread. If you still wish to conquer us after that, we will meet you at the edge of the sky. But we think you won't." Millen pressed her palms together, a human gesture she had learned from a friend on an exchange channel. "Please," she whispered, though her mic was off. "Please say yes." The hidden escort prepared a second strike, angling to spark an incident no one could walk back from. Kale saw the trajectory and understood the plan. He made a choice. He broadcast on open command. "Escort 18, abort your fire. This mission is suspended." A silence fell that felt like a held breath before a cry. Cliffhanger. Escort 18 ignored the order and fired, straight toward Earth's atmosphere. The needle burned white as it dived, compression waves piling into a spear of heat. Tracking stations shrieked. Civilians saw a new star in the sky and made wishes without knowing they were already doing the bravest thing: staying. The chorus flexed. Not a shield, not a gun, a call. Every receiver in range became a hand, and every hand reached. The signal wrapped the falling spear in layers of human attention. Measurements, guesses, prayers, equations written in chalk. The trajectory wobbled. The human scout added a quiet note to the song, a tone that made math feel like a held breath. Space near the falling needle thickened the way a crowd thickens around a street musician. The spear slowed. It did not stop. Karachi looked up. The girl from the bus stop stood with her brother on the rooftop. The needle became a streak, and then a sound, and then a threat with teeth. On the flagship bridge, Admiral Threx made the only move that would let him see his face in a mirror tomorrow. "All ships," he shouted, "assist Earth, now." Officers hesitated. "That is an order." The fleet's field projectors sang. Gravity curled. The atmosphere shivered. The spear split into bright petals that burned like sunset and drifted into the sea with a hiss. The city roared. Fear, relief, joy. Strangers hugged. A driver cried into his steering wheel and then laughed at himself. The girl on the rooftop whispered, "Shukriya," to no one and everyone. Escort 18 tried to run. It didn't get far. The human ship stepped into its path like a person placing a hand on a rushing door. "No," the voice said. "Enough." Kayla spoke to the chamber and did not ask for a vote. "Suspend the mission. Open a delegation. We are in the presence of a power that does not humiliate us. Let us not humiliate ourselves." Millen watched the sun shift across the glass and thought of how light changes the meaning of a room. She opened a new document and titled it simply, "Reconsideration." The Admiral opened the channel one more time, voice softer now. "Human vessel. If we come down, will we be safe?" The voice didn't promise. It did something harder. "We will try. We ask you to try as well." Shuttles fell like seeds through morning air. Cliffhanger. As the first delegation crossed into Earth's sky, a third signal rose, this one not human, not council, from deep beyond the maps. It said, "All parties stand by. You are not the only ones watching." The third signal was a tone with a shape, a chord that didn't belong to any known scale. It tasted like cold metal and old stone. Council archivists dug for matches and found legends. Human linguists did the same and found myths. Different stories, same shadow. Something ancient had opinions about small blue worlds and big decisions. The delegation didn't turn back. Maybe courage. Maybe stubbornness. Maybe both. The shuttles leveled out over the Arabian Sea and found their escort. A human aircraft painted the soft gray of distant rain. engine singing a familiar old song. The pilot laughed into the mic at the wonder of it all. They landed at an airfield smelling of heat and diesel and spice. Not a fortress, a place where people worked. The human welcome was disarmingly ordinary. Bottled water that tasted of plastic and sweetness, fans that clicked, a table covered in newspapers. The newspapers had headlines about harvests and football, and in one corner, aliens. Life had refused to step aside. Kayla stepped onto Earth and felt gravity settle like a hand on his shoulder. Millen followed, datapad tucked under her arm but switched off. The Admiral walked last, eyes flicking to every corner, measuring risk and finding stories instead. Mechanics with oil on their hands. A mother scolding a child, a soldier sharing tea. The scout ship did not land. It hovered high, quiet and watchful, like a city guardian in an old tale. The first conversation did not happen in a grand hall. It happened under a shade cloth with traffic noise in the distance. The human envoys introduced themselves with names and small facts. I like cricket. I hate coriander. My mother is from Keta. The council envoys said things they had never said in session. I was wrong. I was afraid. I am curious. The third signal pulsed again. Distant thunder on a clear day. Who is that? Millen asked. Something old, the human envoy said. It warned our great-grandparents once when we learned to split atoms. It never spoke again. Maybe it speaks when we are about to do something unforgivable. The Admiral sipped sweet tea and found it good. What will it do if we continue? He asked. Maybe nothing, the envoy said. Maybe it will come and stand between us like a mountain. We don't know. We prefer not to test it. In the chamber above the clouds, the council session reconvened. Delegates spoke less cleverly now. The words pride and fear were invited in. Millen's reconsideration document began to fill with sentences that were not policy but promises. On Earth, the chorus softened to a hum, not a war drum, but a heartbeat. The human scout edged closer to the sky's blue, like a bird that might land. Cliffhanger. The ancient signal resolved into a message with coordinates, an invitation to a meeting point beyond Saturn, along with an instruction that made everyone go quiet. Bring no weapons. Bring your truth. They chose a place where rings turned like slow music. The council ships went first, stripped of hard edges, systems locked to transparency modes. Earth sent the small scout and a tugboat with a paint job that had seen better days. It was humor and honesty, both. The ancient presence arrived without appearing. Space thickened, and then there was a shape that wasn't a ship, a boundary where starlight bent into a gentle question mark. Inside it, a voice spoke with the patience of mountains. You are children, it said, without malice. You make fire and songs. You hurt and heal. You argue with your own hearts. You are dear to us because you are complicated. Kala felt tears start. He didn't know why. You voted to invade, the voice said to the council. You made a choice dressed in good words. Now you see the ones you would have heard have teeth and tenderness at once. This is your second choice. Choose well. To Earth, it said, you learned to turn cause like a wheel of water. You built a chorus instead of a throne. Do not confuse restraint with weakness. Keep both. The Admiral spoke, voice small in the grand room of rings. We would choose peace. But our laws, our pride, then change them, the voice said, as if telling a child to wash before dinner. Pride is a coat. You can take it off. Millen stepped forward. We apologize, she said. Not as strategy, as truth. The voice made a sound like approval. Good, now eat together, they did. Food passed between hands that had been ready for war. Spiced rice, flatbread warm from a griddle, fruits cut with careful knives, soups from a dozen worlds. People told stories in the way all talks should begin. Laughter came in short, surprised bursts like a flock taking off. When the plates were empty, the voice spoke one last time. Go back, write your new laws. Build your bridges. Remember this ring of ice and sunlight when your tempers rise. The boundary thinned. Starlight relaxed. Cliffhanger. Back in orbit over Earth, an unexpected signal blinked on a private channel, an encrypted message from within the Council fleet. There will be a second vote. Some want revenge for their humiliation. Be ready. The second vote gathered like a storm that had learned nothing from the first rain. It was smaller now, meaner, operating in whispers and locked rooms. They called it restoring authority. They meant punishing the mirror that told us the truth. Kayla did not sleep. Millen wrote until her fingers hurt. Admiral Threx moved his pieces on the board, but his endgame was different now. Shield the fragile good. On Earth, the chorus listened and found the tremor behind the words. The human scout hung silent above the atmosphere, a sentinel with its lights dimmed. People kept going to work. That was the bravest part. The conspirators timed their play for dawn over Asia, when light makes everything look new and tired eyes miss small shadows. A courier ship detached, pretending to be a shuttle. It aimed a narrow beam not at Earth, not at the scout, but at ground-based relays, hoping to cut the chorus at the roots. They hit a wall made of neighbors. Engineers in Islamabad who had slept on the floor woke at once. Grandma's old radio in Multan turned itself into a bridge. A fisher's GPS boat unit off Gwadar sang like a choir. The beam scattered into a spray of harmless light that made the morning unusually beautiful. The courier tried again. It didn't get the chance. The Admiral's own wing slid between it and the planet, a deliberate act of mutiny in the name of peace. "Stand down," Threx said, voice level. "Turn off your weapon. Turn toward the sun. We are going to vote in public." He opened every channel. The council chamber, the kitchens, the buses, the schoolyards, the farm fields, the high towers. Everyone heard the roll call. No closed doors. No elegant lies. Millen stood at the center of the glass hall and read the motion in simple words. To rescind authorization for force against Earth. To open permanent exchange. To acknowledge error without debt of shame. Her voice did not shake. Calais raised his hand first. "Aye," he said. Others followed. Some hesitated, looking at old fear like a coat they could not quite take off. Then a message arrived from a school in Karachi. A drawing from the bus stop girl. A council ship and a human ship sharing a sky with the word "welcome" written in careful block letters. The feed caught it. The hall saw it. Hands went up, one after another like lanterns. The motion passed. On the courier, saboteurs stared at their screens and saw their future vanish like fog. They powered down without orders. They had lost to something they didn't have a word for in their language. Humans called it decency. The council had an older word, grace. The human scout finally descended, not as a conqueror but as a neighbor returning a borrowed tool. It landed in a quiet field. The pilot stepped out, helmet in his hands, blinking at the brightness of the day. He looked like someone you could sit next to on a bus. He looked tired and proud and a little shy. People came to meet him. They brought bread and questions and phones for pictures. Someone handed him a cup of tea. He took a sip and closed his eyes and smiled. "Thank you," he said to the crowd and to the sky and to the idea that had carried him this far. Above them all, the council fleet turned its mirrored hulls to reflect Earth's oceans. Instead of blocking the sun, they sent more light back. Ships that had arrived as threats left as glittering ornaments in the morning, and the city below looked up and cheered not at power, but at the proof that power had chosen not to be cruel. Millen saved her document with a final line. "We were wrong, and we changed." She sent it to every school on every world that would listen. Admiral Threx stood with Kaylee and watched buses paint gold streaks across evening traffic. "I will be court-martialed," he said with a wry mouth. Calais shook his head. "You will be thanked by children who don't know your name." The ancient presence in the dark drifted away like a parent stepping back from a doorway. It left no warning this time, only a feeling, like a hand lifted in blessing. On the rooftop, the girl pointed at the sky where ships had been and weren't and said to her brother, "This is our planet." He nodded, solemn and small, and said, "And we will take care of it." The night came on soft and ordinary. Lights flicked on one by one, patient as stars. The chorus settled to a whisper that sounded like crickets in summer. Across worlds, people slept. The council did not forget. Complacency had been broken like thin ice under a heavy foot, and beneath it was a deep lake. Next time they voted, they remembered the cold shock and the gasp and chose to build a bridge instead. The end, until the next time someone mistakes quiet for weakness, and humans answer in daylight, with hands out and backs unbent.